The Ford S-Max. I just wanted to show this screen illuminated before I turn it off. Now the car itself, as far as Fords go, is quite well put together. It's quite a solid vehicle. I'm going to do a 0 to 60 test now. 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, terrible lag there. Front wheel drive, you can feel it pulling the steering. 60. Now the first thing I'm going to pick up on with this vehicle is this center console, this instrument cluster here. There's just too much going on in there. The idea is to look down and be able to read the speedo, etc, etc, with the greatest of ease. You can't do that with this. There's just too much information. There's too much to decipher in the process of assimilating what's going on there. Even this dial here is obstructed big time by the steering wheel. Now I don't want to have to adjust the steering wheel to be able to see the speedo dials. The whole idea of being able to adjust the steering wheel is to get the correct driving position. So that's a major flunk on that with Ford. And as I say, there's just so much information crammed into there. It's more like a little computer screen. That's a real flop for this, as far as I'm concerned. Center console, a little bit different, more elementary. You can really see what's going on there with a quick glance. The dashboard hasn't got that horrible cheap plastic that you get in the Fiestas. Feels a bit more solid, a bit more structural integrity with this vehicle. There are a couple of areas where you see this cheesy cheap plastic, but generally speaking it feels a lot more solid and well put together. The wing mirrors are nice and large, plenty of vision going on there, and if anything, they are a bit low. They could be a bit higher. Rear view vision's fine. There's not a lot of obstructions going on there with the headrest. Now, we like the big wing mirrors because at the end of the day it's important when you're driving forward to be able to see where you've been. You've got your automatic gearbox here, got a few more controls here for the seats, electric seats, etc, etc. Now the driving position is very comfortable, and I have to admit the leather on the seats, even though it doesn't feel quite the best hide quality, it does look pretty good, and the interior all around is quite nice. Plenty of headroom, plenty of leg room. Although around the driving position it does feel a little bit claustrophobic, oddly enough. Steering's very sharp, very responsive. There's no lag on the steering at all. Now it's quite a high vehicle and it does have a bit of a wobble. I wouldn't fancy doing an emergency swerve in this car, but we will do a little bit of cornering now just to make sure we get a good idea of the feel for this vehicle. It's quite a quiet vehicle, and the brakes are pretty good too. You can apply the pressure gradually. It's not a grabby, grippy sensation that you tend to get with a lot of Fords. Out of all the Fords that are on the market at the moment, I'd have to say that the S-Max is probably the better one of the two, or the 3, or the 4, or the 5, depending on how many there are in production at the moment, because I actually don't know. But I would say this one's put together a lot better than any other Ford. Certainly got a more of a quality feel as well, even though it's not in the stellar regions. To be fair, it goes around the corners quite nice. It's a lot better on the corners than I ever anticipated, because it is a high vehicle. Very quiet, not a lot of road noise at all, which is quite impressive. The brakes, as I say, they're pretty good, they're pretty powerful. Not the smoothest of brakes, but they're certainly not harsh. You know, this is not a bad vehicle, this. It's not a bad vehicle at all. I think Ford have probably done quite well here, but there are a few issues which really spoil it for me. Again, back to the speedos, that's all wrong, and being a front wheel drive too doesn't help. But you know, people will want these vehicles, they will have a use, and I'd say to anybody thinking about buying one second hand, I'd have a look at the steering, give it a bit of a steering test, make sure your bushes are okay. But generally speaking, this is not a bad car at all.